Hello, this is Elizabeth Clare Brewington with Discover Brightside, where we discover new people and new things, and we help you get discovered on our channel. And we're on an exciting path this month to celebrate the 4th of July, and that America is celebrating 249 years, which is a long time. And this great nation that has done so much for each of us. And I have what better couple than to have Robert and Bonnie on our show. And they are from California and they're going to tell us all about their area. But before that, Robert, please share your story and then we'll bring Bonnie in as well.
Well, our story, and actually we started in Minnesota and then we went to Arizona and now we've been here for 28, 29 years, somewhere in that area. And my wife likes to say, who you'll meet in a minute, from too cold, too hot to just perfect. And, for those of you that don't necessarily believe in synchronicity, that's how I look at how we met because the chances of us, based on what she was doing and what I was doing, were so improbable to ever meet. And she can go in more of that story because she's more of the detailed person, even though it's like she says, well, I'm the introvert, and I look at myself as a situational extrovert. When I'm here and talking about business, because I've, just eat, sleep, and breathe for the most part business, besides her in my life and the things that I'm doing. But I'll let her tell the story because she does a better job. Or would you rather me start by telling the story?
Which story are we talking about?
How you and I met.
Oh, how we met? Oh my goodness. Well, before the days of the internet, there used to be these papers where people could place a personal ad. And I was going to invite my girlfriend to go to have lunch with me. We both worked at the same corporation. And at the last minute, I decided not to invite her. I went to a sandwich shop. I ordered my sandwich. I thought, what am I going to do during my lunchtime? And I saw this newspaper off to the side. It was called the Twin City Reader. I thought, why don't I read that? Well, there were these personal ads in this publication, and I was struck by the ad that this guy had placed. So this was what, 41 years ago,
Yep.
41 years ago. And oh, his parents were so embarrassed that that's how we met. But anyway, I answered his ad. I was one of 18 women who had responded to his ad. And once we met, it was over. We never ever saw anyone else. It was just over.
Yeah. Now, the synchronistic part of it is because she happens to be a major, like one of the, if not the best proofers that I've ever seen. And there was four airs in this four-line ad.
And I never saw them.
And yeah, and if she would have seen one of them,
I wouldn't have responded.
yeah. And the reason I say it was so improbable, I got right before that, I was running a top nightclub. She didn't go to nightclubs or bars.
Yeah, like a strip thing, right?
Yeah, no,
Not my scene at all.
yeah.
I was a health nut. I was a runner. I was a vegetarian. I was completely the opposite of anyone you'd be interested in, right?
Well, but then you and I met and we connected and
And it was over.
it was over. And then one of the funny parts about that whole scenario is we go on our first trip together after we've been, I don't know how long we've been dating, a few months, whatever. And so because of the fact that I was running a nightclub, wherever we would go, whenever we dated, people would know me.
Oh, I got so tired of everyone knowing him. And I used to think, who is this guy? Oh, and it was from August to February before we went on a trip.
Okay.
So it was more than a few months. So we are in Cancun, Mexico, and we take this very long, many-hour bus ride to Chichen Itza, the Mayan ruins. And my thought was, finally. We are somewhere very remote and no one's going to know this guy. It'll be a level playing
Yeah.
field. Finally, and
Yeah.
5 minutes after saying that, someone calls out, "Hey, Bobby." Here was this guy that he played basketball with at the YMCA in Edina, Minnesota. And I just, ugh,
Yeah. So anyhow, that's how we met. We've had a great relationship for a long period of time.
41
Yeah,
years.
41 years. Right now, our focus is ultimately, we've got, I think we want to hit 70 different countries by the time we're 75. And, that's part of our objective. Um, we've
We've
been
been to
in,
40 plus.
yeah. And so everything that we're doing, we've been having a fun time. We just got done. We're going to 60 regional parks in where we live. And so every weekend, almost every weekend, we go to one of them, and we've gone to
57.
uh,
Yeah, I just decided for something fun, let's take this list of regional parks and go to all of them in our entire county. Some of them are 2 hours away. It's a big county. And so, but that's we've been doing that and just we consider it an adventure. It's our weekend adventure. And so we keep the
yep.
spice alive.
Well,
So
I knew there was a lot of spice. I spoke to Robert one time and he talked about you and he was so excited about you. And I am very blessed because I have a wonderful husband and we have a great marriage. And so I right away I said, I got to meet this woman. She sounds divine. What an amazing story. Wow. Now, Robert is somebody that I respect. He's somebody I just met and he helped me so much with my podcast that I was empowered and moved by how much he's doing for his community. And right on the screen, you can see every Tuesday, I've been to these events and they're just amazing. Usually I go to events and I say, I will leave in 10 minutes, and I usually stay right to the end. So what empowers you to help so many people? It's not just about the two of you, but it's what y'all are doing with the community.
the key and what changed my life originally was listening to a cassette tape series by Wayne Dyer. And so that started my journey from leaving our family business. And my whole life purpose is to live a life of meaning based on being of value to other people. We've been very blessed. I mean, we've had our ups and downs, trials and tribulations as I've gone on the entrepreneurial journey. But the point is, when you're finally at the end of towards the end of your life, you sort of reflect back and you ask yourself, did I really make a difference? And that's really what inspires me, knowing that, I want to show up, be of value, and know that my life was worth living beyond our phenomenal relationship, beyond the kids, our grandkids. But I want to make sure that I'm able to help other people because there's a lot of sharks in the water. And there's a lot of reasons why people will start something and for whatever reason they get distracted. Um, and I believe that the more that we can contribute, and that's really how I look at things, the way I see things, and why I do what I do.
Well, tell what you learned from that tape that changed your life.
Oh, yeah, the key of what I learned from that tape is, you got to take responsibility for what is so that you can take responsibility for what will be. And most people are in a state of denial. And I love the acronym of denial, which is don't even notice I am lying. And I see so many people that are not living a life of fulfillment. And so really that's my part of my purpose is if I can help shift people so that they can see things a little bit different, so that they can see the vision of what they could or should accomplish as it relates to what they want to do. So, I mean, I've said from stage many times, and I believe it right now as you and I are speaking, that it's easier today for somebody to create whatever they want to create than it was when I started because you've got things like the internet, technology, AI, all that kind of stuff, especially since March of 2020. You and I have never yet met face to face, but we've developed a relationship online. And it's like you've gotten to know me, I've gotten to know you, you're now getting to know my wife. And so I just see with technology, AI, everything else, for those that are serious and committed to wanting to live a life a fulfillment, they can do that.
So just for complete clarification, once you realize that you were responsible for your life, you knew you had created the things that were in your life, and you knew then that you could create even better things.
Yes.
So you took responsibility and knew you could do more.
Yeah. And part of back when we first started dating and we were walking in the park across from where she lived, I turned to her and I said, there's nothing or nobody that's going to stop me from being successful in MLMs.
And I was wondering about the guy because he, with all of his connections, all the people he knew, he had a way, a shall we say, a rich way of doing things, and it landed him in a considerable amount of debt, like considerable. And I thought, well, what's wrong with this guy? He this isn't working. He's in all this debt. Why does he keep trying to do this when it isn't working? But the day that he said, there's absolutely no one and nothing that'll stop me from being successful, it was just, I got goosebumps right now just saying it. That was the day that I knew he would be successful in MLM, and the only place for me to stand was beside him on that. So I gave up that he should try to do something else. I thought he was a little crazy, but yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And became super successful. Of course, he had me.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. And part of, and part of my mentality back then, because I, one of the things from one of the cassette tapes I listened to, a guy said there's certain lessons we're supposed to learn. And until you learn those lessons, life will continually trip you up. And so I'm looking at the situation that I had created, knowing that I was responsible for that. And so part of it is how you reframe it. And I'm thinking, well, I grew up over here, and not everybody was going to have the kind of um, upbringing background necessarily that I had. I also sat back and thought, well, if I'm going to start a franchise back then, and I'm thinking about, well, not that I wanted to start a McDonald's, but McDonald's was, if I'm not mistaken, about 600,000. My debt was nowhere near that amount. And so, part of it is if you're going to end up mentoring other people, and part of what turned my life around, besides meeting her and us partnering up, which was my first real partners, when I came across my first real mentor. I mean, a person that I could call up and pick. Before that, it was sort of like my indirect mentors, the books I read, the CDs I listened to, the cassettes, the seminars. So once I found the right mentor, and so part of my thinking back then was the fact that knowing that I was going to be successful, that I would end up mentoring other people, and I could look them in the eyes, speak from the heart, because people were going to come to me that had similar but different challenges, and I would be able to empathize and help them have hope and see them breaking through whatever is holding them back.
Sure. So to say, I was right where you are now, and
Yes,
I'm not there anymore because I did 1, 2, and 3.
yes,
Yeah. So it was a great education. We called it,
Wow, that's a great story.
we
Yeah.
called it his education.
yeah.
Yeah. Better
So
to
back
one.
now over to you, Barney. What empowers you? I know you've got this amazing garden, and Robert is right. We've never met, but I plan because I have cousins and relatives in close to you, so I plan to see y'all at some point.
Oh,
But
wonderful.
yeah. So tell me about this garden and what empowers you every day.
Okay, so I think the biggest thing about me is that I believe in universal principles. I believe that once you make a commitment, the universe just steps in and supports you in that decision. The decision is the first step, and then all the details are supported by the universe. For instance, we were living in Scottsdale. It was so hot. It was just so hot. And I just didn't want to be there anymore. And so Robert had been to Santa Rosa, and he'd looked around and he'd seen how beautiful it was. And there were almost 3 million people in the Phoenix area, and there's 150,000 people here. And that's the kind of number of neighbors that I want. I don't need a million people around. And so we came over here, we looked around, it was so beautiful. And we went to, it's now Whole Foods, but it used to be called Food for Thought. And we got this loaf of garlic bread that had whole cloves of garlic in it. And I go, God, this is just the kind of place I want to be. So we get home and I take a little tiny slip of paper and I write that we had just completely remodeled our home. We'd added an addition. It was really quite beautiful. And I wrote on there that we would list the house on January 1st. We would sell it on January 15th, but because the kids were in school, we would allow them to almost finish. We'd leave 6 weeks before the school year was over so that they could establish friends in their new school so they'd have friends to play with for the summer. And I handed it to Robert. I think I put it in his little pocket. And he goes, "Well, you're dreaming." And I go, "Yeah, watch me dream." We listed on January 1st. It sells on January 14th, but the realtor had tickets to the Phoenix Suns basketball game, so she couldn't come over until January 15th, and we signed off on it around 10:30 that morning. And then we moved over here at the end of April so that the kids had their time in their new school. So it was bing, bing, bing. And it was thank you, universe. It's what I wanted. I asked to do this, and the universe said, let's align this for you. So universal principles are really important to me, and they work. So, and as far as gardening, I garden every day. We have what 2/3 of an acre here, and 1,000 plants and trees and fruit trees and rose garden and just all these things to take care of. And I just planted 80 some purple what irises, and I've got these naked ladies that are going to be coming up. A neighbor puts extra bulbs and rhizomes out, and so we take those and we just beautify our yard with it. And so that's super enjoyable. And I'm into photography, and we've got these grandkids. I make photo books of them. And I have a pretty grand time. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Wow,
So,
that sounds so amazing. So both of you get so much joy. And so you're on the bright side. We've discovered you, and that's a big deal. And so we're excited to have you for our Empower America show on July the 18th. And please share our videos. And for those of you who are watching and you know Robert, please write us a comment. Thank you for watching Discover Brightside, and we look forward to having you all again.
thank you.
Let me, if you